and advanced traders to go beyond outdated market narratives into deeper understanding. We offer market insights as timely analysis of what's moving the markets right now, trading education to help you build real skills beyond surface level tips and tricks, and live trade ideas, real-time recommendations you can act on immediately. Opening Playbook is a free daily live webinar. Your hosts of the show are Nathan and Graham. Nathan has over a decade of experience trading Forex, stocks, and beyond. He's worked with dozens of leading global experts on strategy development. He's obsessed with math and systematic edges in trading. He's the creator of the Income Machine, Overnight Options, and more. He's a husband, a dad of 7, and the publisher here at the pub. Graham Lindman is also an options expert with over a decade of market experience. He studied technical analysis under 2 of the top minds in finance. He developed wrap order option trades for cost-effective entries, as well as created lightning trades, moonshot alerts, NVIDIA Elite, Apex Indicator, and Newton. He's also a husband, a dad of 2, and the copy chief here at the pub. Now, a lot of people in the stock market education industry will tell you that trading is easy if you just know their quote-unquote secrets. Well, that's not us. We'll tell you the hard truth, which is that trading is complex and takes time to learn. But we make the learning process much easier. The Opening Playbook exists because a lot of traders have trouble succeeding because they believe many of the myths out there about the market and trading. We'll dispel those myths and equip you to become a better, more mature trader, giving you the opportunity to be more successful, whether that means using our systems, tools, and strategies, or just trading on your own. Remember, our goal is to be a bridge for both new and advanced traders to go beyond outdated market narratives into deeper understanding. Now, it's important to remember that you should never trade with money that you can't afford to lose. Of course, nobody likes losing, but there's a difference between losing some of your investment portfolio and losing the rent or grocery money. So please don't trade with money that you can't afford to lose. And let's be ultra clear, any type of trading involves losing some of your trades. It's inevitable. Controlling your risk will keep you in the game, and we can help you learn structures and strategies to do just that. Our promise is that we'll be honest and transparent with you about what works and what doesn't, what you should make your own decisions about, and what rules we believe you should always follow. And here are some rules of the road to get you started. Stay calm. Try to trade without emotion involved in your decisions. Go at your own pace. Don't try to keep up with us or other traders. And ask questions freely. We really do want to help in any way that we can. And to help you get started, we'd like to offer you some free information. Answer a few quick questions by clicking the link in the banner I'm posting above. And for answering that quick survey, we'll give you custom content to better help you by using your feedback to improve our classes and education, and give you a free options cheat sheet, a digital, easy-to-understand options guide that will look something like this. Now, I'd like to give you some tips on using our webinar platform before we get started with our regular program. The button next to number 1 here, we call the hamburger button. That will collapse the green column on the left, and you can leave it collapsed because we don't use it for anything. Number 2 is the pause button. You can pause and resume the presentation whenever you'd like. Number 3 is the mute button. You can mute and unmute the presentation's audio. If you find that you suddenly lose audio during the presentation, make sure you haven't accidentally clicked or tapped on the mute button. Number 4 is the main announcements section, where trades that we take in the current session will be posted, as well as helpful links that can always be found there. Now, this section will only be visible if you're on a large screen. If you're on a mobile device, you won't see announcements here, but we do have another area that you can see them that we'll get to shortly. Number 5 is the toggle for going between light and dark mode, whichever you prefer. Number 6, the monitor icon will enlarge the presentation area without hiding the communications or chat area. Now this button is shown in two places, and I highly recommend using this because it'll give you the best view of the presentation without hiding the chat from you. Number 7 is the picture in a picture button. This will reduce the presentation to a floating window so you can do other work behind it, such as go to your broker platform on a mobile device. Number 8 is the full screen icon. This button will enlarge the presentation to take up the entire screen, covering everything including the chat area. Number 7 and number 8 may or may not appear for you depending upon what device and browser you are using. Number 9 is the low latency button. Toggle this off if you're having any audio or video issues such as buffering. Number 10, all the way on the right, is the communications area. This is where group chats, announcements, and private messages will appear depending upon the tab that you have selected above. At the bottom, number 11, is where you'll type your outgoing message. You can press enter or tap or click on the green arrow to send it. Number 12 is where you can start a private message to a host by tapping or hovering on one of their group chat messages and clicking the double speech bubble icon that appears. Now you can only private message hosts, not other attendees. At the top, number 13, that button will collapse the communications area, giving you a larger area for the presentation, but you won't see any of the communications that are going on. Number 14 is the group chat. This is where you'll read and write messages that the entire group can see, and this is the default tab that you'll see when you sign in. Number 15 is the announcements button. This is where you can see those same announcements that were in the larger area that we covered earlier, but this will be available whether you are on a mobile device or a larger screen. Number 16 is the private messages tab. This is where you can see any conversations that you have started with the hosts or they have started with you. And if you have a new message waiting for you, you'll see a red dot below this icon in the toolbar at the top. And last but not least, number 17 is the button that will pop out the communications area into its own window. This is useful if you have multiple screens and you want to go full screen on the presentation and view the chat in a separate screen. Now, we have a version of this guide that I just went through that you can view on your own. The URL to get to that guide is marketspg.com/wisepub, and there's now also a link to it in the announcements section. And that's it. So once again, welcome to Opening Playbook. Don't forget to complete that survey to get your free cheat sheet. And now we're going to play our theme song and get to the regular show at the top of the hour.
Flip the page, it's time to start the game. Graham and Nathan calling out the names. Opportunities knocking loud and clear. The Markets Playbook is finally here. Opening Playbook, we're ready to roll. Daily moves that fire up your soul. Strategy sharp like a razor blade. This is where the big plays are made. Oh. Charts are lighting up the morning sky. They spot the trends with the hawk side. Options and plays in a live display. This is where the big plays are made. Oh. Charts are lighting up the morning sky. They spot the trends with the hawk side. Options and plays in a live display. Every move counts in the game they play. Opening Playbook, we're ready to roll. Daily moves that fire up your soul. Strategy sharp like a razor blade. This is where the big plays are made. Oh. They break it down, no confusion, no spinning around. With every trade, they set the tone, making big calls from their trading phone. Opening playbook, we're ready to roll. Daily moves that the fire up your soul. Strategy sharp like a razor blade. This is where the big plays are made. Oh, this is where the big plays are made. Oh. Opening playbook, we're ready to roll. Daily moves that will fire up your soul. Strategy sharp like a razor blade. This is where the big plays are made. Oh.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the opening playbook for Friday, May 22nd. Happy Friday, everyone. I hope you're having a good morning. We had quite a gap up this morning in the market. See if it holds. I shouldn't say quite a gap up. We had a little bit of a gap up. Not a huge gap up, but we are approaching all-time highs again, which we had just about a week ago. So we are definitely looking bullish today.
This
And we have
market just knows how to go up, Dave. That's what it's good at.
good morning, Nathan.
Good morning. Actually, it really hasn't gone up in the last 2 weeks or week and a half, as you said. It's gone up a lot, but it's canceled a lot of that out with some intraday movement and a couple gaps down that we had to buy the dip in order to actually move it back up. So yeah, we're incredibly bullish, obviously, overall, but we're still trying to figure out, are we going to get a little bit of a continuation of a sideways taking our breath, or are we going to get just the 1 week pause that we got last week, and by the end of today, look fully bullish again? And we are, let me see, still about 0.5%. I think you just said that. About 0.5% from getting through those highs. So I would say as of now, we are in a bullish pause on where things sit. Looks very healthy, market ripping higher. I'm not afraid to really buy it right now, but until we're back over 750 on the SPY, I would say it's still kind of in that that neutral pause that we started last week. But it's about as bullish of a neutral pause as I think you'll ever see, because almost everything is still going up. In fact, let me look at the Qs. Did the Qs make new highs? No, Qs did not. They got very, very close. Did not quite, but they are a little ahead of the curve here relative to the SPY. And as someone said in the chat, yeah, everything knows how to go up except for NVIDIA.
Except for NVIDIA.
The best stock in the market, the stock that encapsulates all of the AI excitement and all these other stocks that are going up with the best earnings and the best numbers, is not going up, which is just kind of a fascinating thing, because it's really been like a while now that this is happening. It did have a big catch-up run over the last month where it finally went up, but even that, it only got about 8% above its previous October high, versus look at AMAT, SanDisk, AMD, Micron, all the others, and 8% above the previous high for the best stock of the bunch is just an absolute joke. So it continues to be a very wild ride for NVIDIA that I don't quite understand.
They well, two things. One, they reported earnings, net profit pretty much the same as Google, yet they're still lagging Google, and their forward revenue projections are about 30% higher than Google's, if I remember right. I don't understand it. Obviously, I'm bummed. I had $1,000 in on that. You guys know it. Gone. But the good news is that the markets are going higher. I think we are going to see the next leg up. And what's shocking today is the Qs, like you said, tested new highs got rejected. I would not be shocked to see that test come back again later today. However, Nvidia and Google, the two biggest stocks in the index, are both down today. Yet the markets are up, going higher. I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, not only are the overall markets higher, but the Qs are, higher, and XLK, which those are its two biggest holdings, is up 1% with its
I
two
know.
biggest holdings down. It's unbelievable, the run. And let me just show you this real quick. We'll jump right into our spotlight, which is should be fun. We're gonna look at First Solar, which is up again, by the way, today, Graham. So I really should have bought that when I said I was going to. But here you can see the overall market. Small caps moving pretty nice as well, by the way. Here's Mags really not doing anything, with Nvidia and Google kind of pulling it down. But here's what I want to show you. We're getting bullishness in all kind of different ways lately, which I actually love. RSP is actually up significantly more than Qs or SPY. So we've been getting this bullish market done a lot of different ways lately, where yes, technology is still leading by a mile, but it's not on an island here. As a matter of fact, we're seeing today that energy is participating. Here it is, up a little bit, about 0.5%. Technology, financials, even staples are up. Utilities are up. Discretionary is up. Industrials are up. Healthcare is up. Real estate is up. Basic materials are up. Poor communications because of Google is down, or is Meta down too? I didn't actually look at Meta, but everything else is green, and this is really nice because what it means is that technology is not on an island here in this run up. There's a lot of other supporting candidates for kind of a healthy underbelly of this overall market. As a matter of fact, I think RSP could be tradable on its own right here on this breakout. So you could trade RSP directly. I kind of mentioned this on this April. See, I saw my vertical line there saying, hey, we might get a run this week through the all-time highs. We didn't. Just kind of churn sideways here as Q's ripped higher. But now, a little late to the party, RSP making its move. And I think RSP is tradable directly. So you could buy options on that. You could buy some underlying. I still think a pretty good basket right now for the rest of 2026 is Qs and RSP, so shares of each, where where we could see technology absolutely make another leg and a massive leg, but I also see industrials, basic materials, utilities having a really good 2026 as well. RSP will kind of help you keep you in the game on those. So I think RSP is actually tradable with where we find it now, and it's been pretty good asset overall.
Meta's up like 0.25%, but it did shoot up a bit more this morning and came back down.
Yeah. Poor communication says really, I mean, you can, if I go here, I was saying, Graham, I really thought the separation of technology and communications into two different sectors didn't make a ton of sense to me. They still feel like they're the same stocks. But lately I've been proven wrong because technology is just absolutely running away from communications. This is how far technology over the last couple of months is outpacing communications, throwing up a big fat 0 while tech is up over 30%. So yeah, good sector split there because they turns out they're definitely not in the same game.
The real question is First Solar up because it's sunny out, or is it sunny out because First Solar's up?
That is a great question. Although it's not very
Chicken or the
sunny
egg?
here, so I can't answer that.
Apple's going new highs right now.
Apple is the most boring bullish stock of all time, and I love it.
Sneaky giant.
It is. That's I talked about that on my market beat interview, however many months ago that was. That it's just like the least exciting stock to talk about. I actually got hammered in the comments. Be like, "Oh, Apple, it's never going up again. This guy's an idiot." Like,
Yeah,
how many times do we say that about Apple over like it just keeps going up. So I'm not going to try to be too much smarter than Apple, and it's been a great stock since then. Graham, no gold trade today, right? We're
No
on the
gold trade. Nope.
sidelines
We're out
here.
of cycle currently. We need the interest rates to come back, help us out. Right now, not doing so good. And also, there was news yesterday that Iran and US were going to sign their peace treaty, and then there was news that nope, they're going to start bombing each other again. So
Yeah, it could be a volatile weekend, long weekend, lots of. Uh, is it terrible for me to say that, like, I feel like Trump is going to tweet something about Memorial Day and freedom and like what that means relative to bombing Iran? He seems like that's kind of right up his alley.
That's a pretty safe prediction, I think.
Yeah. So weekend could be dicey. Apple's not. Yeah, yeah, Buck. I wrote a report about that about 3 years ago. I stand by it. Apple is definitely not an innovative company in broad strokes, meaning like they were very late to tablets and very late to smartphones, and very late to wireless headphones and all of those things. But then they come in when the market has proved itself, and they tend to dominate it because they're incredible at marketing and they have the best fan base, at least in the U.S. To leverage on all of those things. And so I thought they would do the same thing on AI. They would kind of say like, hey, we're not going to spend $72 trillion to develop some AI thing. We'll just make a couple small deals. And then when there's, proven AI opportunity, we'll go ahead and leverage it and take advantage. And I think they're doing a pretty good job of that while staying really, really healthy along the way. Ironically, NVIDIA has gone all in on AI. I shouldn't say gone all in on AI. They were already fundamentally positioned to take advantage of the AI race, have also been incredibly healthy, and they're not even getting the payoff for doing that. So a couple companies are, but they're not one of them, which is just wild. Okay, let's talk about First Solar. So this is a company that I think is really interesting. Let me show you the chart real quick first, because it's a pretty good looking chart here. Oh, okay, that's not going to be the chart. Thought I had the chart. It's a pretty good looking chart on First Solar, first and foremost. And as I was saying yesterday, so here it is on the weekly chart. Obviously had this huge run. This is back in 2024. This is when a lot of the kind of I shouldn't say initial, but a wave of some of the green energy deals were getting thrown around, and First Solar went on a crazy run. Before that, it also had some big runs. I think we have to go. Yep, here it is. Have to go all the way back here to like the initial green energy burst. And now we're on another one. But the difference to me between some of these other runs is, while this is also kind of catalyst driven in terms of government funds and new incentives, this is also, to me, a little bit of a healthier run up, where First Solar has put up some really good numbers. And they have, I think, the potential to be the real deal as an energy company, where a lot of their previous runs were kind of, fluff around green energy being the new thing, government contracts, but the company itself hadn't necessarily proven out how profitable it could be. And now it has done that. And I think it's an extremely healthy company. We'll see we'll see if our system here agrees that it's an extremely healthy company. But it's an extremely healthy company with that as a tailwind. And that, to me, is a much more attractive situation than just hoping everything plays out. Now, like it or love it, that's not what I want to say. Love it or hate it, the comparison I would make is Tesla, which I know, people dog on Tesla with a lot of the government credits, and they never could have been, profitable without it, and blah, 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 blah. But really, the way that I would define Tesla is it was a really good company. It was really profitable, especially by, kind of car manufacturer standards. And it had all the government credits and incentives as a massive tailwind to an already good company. And so to me, that is a kind of a better comparison to First Solar. It's not living or dying based on government policy, but it's a good tailwind for a company that's already healthy. So you guys probably, based on that, can already tell I'm pretty bullish on it. I didn't actually buy it yet. Almost did. Wish I did, but didn't buy it quite yet. I still am not 100% convinced, but I'm fairly convinced that it's got a good future ahead of it here and could potentially have a really outsized run up potential here. And we will see if that is the case. So let's jump in. This is technically a technology stock, not an energy stock. That's because, most of these new energy tech end up as tech stocks. Obviously, I think they like to consider themselves a tech stock as well for valuation purposes and all of that. But the industry is solar. Market cap is still quite small at just $25 billion. No trillions here in First Solar. Overall, the system ranks it as an 8.0. That's a lot to do with how profitable it has been, and the growth is really good as well. If we scroll down here, you can see this big red. I didn't get the chance to look into this yet as to why First Solar only has a 25% history of beats. It's only 8 quarters that we have the data on this. That seems shockingly low to me and I guess maybe I'm just judging too harshly here, but in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, a solar company by default, I expect to be underwhelming on revenue. They've been really good on revenue, so they should be beating all the time. But apparently the expectations for First Solar over the last couple of years have been really, really high. So this is the one kind of blip on the radar here. But you can see, with that being said, maybe some of those overstated expectations, the actual earnings growth is really, really good. Operating margin is really good. Profit margins, outrageously good. Again, this is one of those things, if you just heard talking heads talk about solar companies, you wouldn't expect them to have a 30, or any of them to have a 30% profit margin. You would hear things like, oh, they're just going into debt, hoping that the government bails them out. Those would kind of be the talking points on solar companies. But in reality, the profit margin on First Solar is really, really good. Revenue and in the last quarter is about $1 billion. Okay, net income, there's that really high margin, about $346 million. So overall, high profit margin, good growth, still relatively low market cap, and to me, that's essentially what makes it appealing. As far as the trend and the overall chart position, we just looked at it. It's very good right now. It's rallying higher. We've seen a lot of alternative energy go up. We've seen a lot of alternative energy go down. There's going to be some winners and losers, I think, along the way over the next year or so. But in general, I think we are so starved for energy that we're going to need everything. So my prediction is that in 5 to 10 years, nuclear will win, and it will be outsized relative to everything else. But in the next couple of years, I think everything has the chance to win because we're going to be pulling energy from fossil fuels and from solar and from hydro and from nuclear and from everywhere that we can get it to support the massive scale of infrastructure, AI, and otherwise that requires mass amounts of energy. Here's some of those numbers you can see on the operating cash flow side of things. This is where First Solar can get a little dicey because it does have government funds coming in, credits going out, and that's where you can get a little dicey. But again, over the last couple quarters, you can see they've really pulled it together. Q1 not their best. I think that also had to do with some credits expiring, but again, I think overall for a solar company that was trading at, I don't know, 1/6 the price or something not that long ago, they put it together pretty well. Here's the number that shocked me most of all. They have almost no debt. And again, maybe I'm the person who just kind of took headlines over the last couple of years and made the assumption that all solar companies suck. I mean, that's probably too broad of a stroke that I just, made sense to me, took for granted, and kind of figured if you ever looked into any of these companies, you would see large debt, a lot of government debt, almost no revenue, and a plan to get profitable 30 years from now. But actually, a lot of these companies are healthier than that. And again, First Solar is probably the best one. But what shocked me beyond just net cash flow being good is actually they have almost no debt and they have lots of cash. So a company that is pulling top line $1 billion or so a quarter, sitting on $2 billion worth of cash, is really quite healthy, and their debt to equity is very good. Earnings estimates are up and up and up. Couple blips along the way, including the most recent one, but overall, really good. You can see, again, this is kind of the trend that I was talking about. So we had this initial, I shouldn't say initial, this wave of excitement around alternative energy. So this was really the first 2 years of the Biden administration. Okay, this 2020 through 2022. And this is where during the first couple of years, especially the first year of that administration, we had a lot of alternative energy stocks go crazy. We had a lot of new funds and grants and all kinds of things around alternative energy. And you saw companies in solar and wind and several other sectors get outsized 2020 through, kind of beginning of 2022 before the entire market pulled back. And those were real numbers. I mean, you can see here in the actual numbers, those were real numbers. They actually were getting grants. They actually were putting up more, solar panels themselves. Like, again, it wasn't like it was all future pacing. It wasn't like the government announced we like First Solar and then they got lots of money. There were actual projects going on. They were putting solar panels out and they had a pretty good run. And then they got really beat up when the bear market came along. When some of that money dried up, they got quite negative. You can see it as well in their stock price. If I pull it back up here, here is 2021. We see that run up and then all the way down 2022. So from about $123 a share down to about $60 a share. So about a 50% pullback here. Again, you can see the run up. This is beginning of Biden, essentially. Run up and then the big run down. But they were able to pull it back together. And so that is one of the things that I like about First Solar is that after this flipped negative and things were looking pretty ugly, they actually built a really good fundamental company from that point. And you can see those earnings have continued to go up. Again, trend in 2026, we're early. It's a little bit of a disappointment, I guess, on Q1, but we're still pretty early here. Since 2022, it looks really healthy overall. Financial statements, we kind of covered this, but again, there's the top line numbers. 2026, this quarter was a big drop for First Solar. I actually didn't, let me go back to that chart real quick. I actually didn't see what they did here. Okay, so they had a huge drop and the market didn't even care. This is that earnings week. Right there. So, or maybe right there, I should say. There. So this is that earnings week. That was a huge drop on First Solar. And obviously the market didn't care about that at all. Their future guidance must have been pretty good. Again, I didn't really dive into the numbers on that. But that's this number right here, which was, a 37% decrease from the quarter before on the actual top line. And yet the stock ripped higher. So I'm assuming future guidance was really good. And we will see what the next quarter looks like here fairly soon. That is coming in mid-July, end of July. So we'll see what that looks like. But there's your numbers on financial statements. Valuation and expectation. PE still really low. Forward PE, not a massive drift down, but PE still quite low. Remember, this is considered a tech stock. Okay, keep that in mind. As we look at this PE, this is considered a technology stock. And we're at 15.4 or so. Current analyst target around $243. I don't really care about that, as you know. But the overall valuation here to me seems well within buy zone. Again, it's a small market cap, so you have to be a little bit careful there. But I think it's a pretty healthy valuation for a stock that has extreme upside due to the market cap itself. Here it is on the technical side of things. One of the things that I like to look at is the RSI history. So is it a good overbought, oversold stock? The answer is it's actually a really good oversold. So anytime that we're even near the low end of RSI, it's actually a pretty good buy. As an overbought stock, not as much. You can see it can kind of hang around the top level on the RSI quite a bit. The reason I like the RSI is because some stocks behave within extremes up and down the RSI. Some kind of live in the middle, and then some are more cyclical where they sprint and stay at the high RSI for 3 months, then they drop, then they sprint. And so this kind of gives you an idea of how it behaves relative to overbought, oversold. And I think we've got a lot of room. I mean, you can kind of see it here just with my simple line chart. We had a nice, healthy pullback. We ripped back through. And the last time that we did that with lots of momentum, we kicked off a pretty massive trend. So I think there's tons of potential from a price action and trading structure on First Solar here as well. I won't bore you too much with the volume side of things other than just to say that as of late, as we've gotten this run, high volume days have been positive. So when we're seeing big volume move in, it's not usually selling pressure. It is usually buying pressure. Since April, when we kind of kicked off this run, all of those really significantly above average volume days have been pushed higher. I haven't looked at the options yet at all, so let's take a moment and let these load up. I have no idea how active First Solar is on the options chain. I don't know if any of you guys, let me know in the chat if you've ever traded First Solar or if you've ever traded options on First Solar, because I've never even looked at the options chain. So let's let the options data load up here, and we will get we'll get some idea of where that positioning is and if there's any volume really to work with.
Robbie Hollywood said they've traded FSLR.
Yeah, I would assume the volatility is pretty high to the point where if you did own the stock, that you could get some good premium. Okay, is my options going to load up here? It's taking a little longer than usual. The options takes the longest, but it should be going a little faster than this. All right, maybe I'll have to come back. I don't know if it's actually loading or just. Consensus on the analyst side is a buy for FSLR. Probably not a big surprise there because of the total valuation. But it's also, it's not on a lot of the lists, so you're not going to see. It's not going to be like an Nvidia where you're getting constant rating updates. Here's the seasonality. So interestingly, for solar, it's a pretty mixed bag. I mean, you would think that it would be like a pretty summer dominated stock here, and it has definitely a little bit of an edge on some of these, but it's a pretty mixed bag. If you go down and look at the average return here, March is positive, May is super positive, July and August, so definitely somewhat summer concentrated. But within that concentration, it's some really extreme moves. I mean, May lately, maybe I should buy. May lately has been an absolute juggernaut for FSLR. 11%, 54%, 25% over just the last 3 Mays alone here. So maybe that's worth keeping an eye for the rest of the month. And then June kind of tails off, and then July and August seem to pick back up a little bit, but not as obvious as you think on the summer months, but I think good enough that if First Solar is on your list, owning it during the summer certainly makes sense. Not a ton of insider transaction here, but we are seeing some decent buys. Certainly going to be dominated by sell with the stock up like every stock is, but we're seeing some buy action here so far in 2026. We've actually got a pretty heavy. I mean, this 75 buys and then 11 more here into May. Not actually bad. So we'll see if that continues. New sentiment looks like a pretty bullish overall sentiment. We're going to see, I think, probably a lot more new sentiment surrounding these stocks in the coming months. Again, the question for something like First Solar is going to be how excited and attached do investors get to its alternative competitors. If the narrative shifts where, nuclear is so much in the spotlight that nothing else matters, it's going to be hard for the stock to get a tailwind, no matter how good the earnings are. If wind and hydro, have big kind of sentiment shifts in a positive direction, it's going to be hard for solar, no matter how good the numbers are. So what we really need right now for companies like First Solar is one of two things. Either one, solar gets really big positive sentiment where news is driving it higher and continued government subsidies and things like that are driving it higher, or just an overall narrative to remain that energy at all cost is critical and not to get laser focused in one alternative that is not solar. And so I think either one of those, just more general outcomes or more solar focused outcomes, are going to be really positive. Here's the revenue breakdown. Thought this was interesting. India is a pretty decent contributor to First Solar. To me, that, again, is really good upside when you've got a foothold in the biggest country in the world, and it's making up 13% of your revenue already. Seems like that is going to show some significant upside for First Solar going forward. And they have a little bit of a foothold in the rest of the world as well, of course, dominated by the US. But I thought this was quite interesting that India is already making up nearly $1 billion of their annual revenue. And we can see here it is ticking up. It hasn't ticked up massively, but certainly is ticking up from 234 million to 314 to 465 to 631 to 679. So if that India market continues to grow and drive sales, that gives you a pretty good ceiling on a company that's currently only a $25 billion market cap. Here you can kind of see what I call the commodity correlation. So basically it's just saying, like, how is First Solar comparing with the solar sector as a whole? And you can see really good is the key takeaway here. So I wanted to show it on a chart. In other words, I don't think the kind of headwinds of solar are not real. They are, but First Solar has really performed quite well outside of it. Now we're seeing the rest of the solar market definitely start to catch up here later into this year. But First Solar is definitely a significant outperformer. Here you can see what happens when solar is up but FSR is down. Well, you would think 80% of the time it would bounce back. Nope. Coin flip. It's actually pretty disconnected from the overall solar market here in terms of the timing of the moves, which I found quite fascinating, actually. So there's a little kind of cheat sheet on how First Solar responds relative to the rest of the solar market. Can't get that data to load. Huh. Oh, okay, there we go. Here is the competitive context for First Solar, which our system ranks as the king on the peer comparison. And you can see as we scroll down here, it's really this PE number that is super attractive right now. We have one other PE that's in good shape, but that PE doesn't have the margins or the revenue growth. And so hopefully my screen's big enough. You can see both PE and forward PE really positive. The other one that's in that range down to an 11 PE is much less impressive on growth margin, etc. So I think First Solar is actually a pretty clear winner here. You probably don't want the 217 forward PE with negative earnings, but does have good growth. So in my mind, if we're buying solar, I do think FSLR is a pretty nice, clear winner here. But I'm curious what you guys think in the chat. Let me know what we do with Friday Spotlight. Was we always give it a grade A through F. A being a stock that you're loading up right now in your broker and you can't believe you didn't own it before. F being a terrible stock that you went in touch with a 10-foot pole. Where do you rank First Solar? So give me a ranking here in the chat. I'm curious. And then what I'll do is I'll just look at the options here because we didn't get to look too closely.
The thing
And
that
see
would
how
give you a
tradable they
little
are.
caution with it is that we've already had quite a big run up since the end of April, and you showed on that chart that June has been not as good as we would think. So I'd wonder if we're kind of at the, relative top for the summer, beginning of the summer.
Yeah. One of the things that I was looking at with First Solar, let me show it to you on the chart here. I'll get rid of my other indicators so you can see a little more clearly. Is you can see my chart here.
Mm-hmm.
It looks to be a pretty good momentum stock. It looks to be pretty cyclical on the momentum side. I'm going to start here at 2022 after that big run. When we've got these outsized moves, they've carried on pretty significantly. Now, this is an example here where we didn't really get the breakout of the top until the very end, and you were pretty overextended. But even this one, what's kind of crazy about this one, it still went up 10%. Like it wasn't like that was actually the top 10% on an underlying $300 stock is not a nothing move. And we've got some of these outsized weeks. We've had pretty good runs up. Now, we haven't really broken the high. I mean, this high here was only, broken one time and then it closed right back below. So I don't know if it's a stock that we want to trade at all-time highs. There's not enough history as of late to tell us that. But I think a move into all-time highs could be a decent trade. I don't know what the options market looks like, but we can take a look and see. If we took a trade out a couple months here into August and traded for that 280 level.
Yeah, I think if you give it to August, you're safer than if you were trying to do a short-term play.
Yeah, but you can see, I mean, the options pricing there is not real good.
Yeah.
I mean, to trade a stock, over 10% out of the money and make 150 or 180%. Really not a great ROI. So they are pricing in this big move. And actually what's interesting is the IV doesn't seem all that high. If you were just looking at the implied volatility, you'd say, the options shouldn't be too expensive. But then you look at the expected move. The expected move is $63 on a $250 stock. What's that, like 40% of the underlying stock?
Yeah, that's insane.
In 91 days.
Yeah.
So the expected move here is what's getting you into trouble on that. So for me, I actually probably would buy shares then if I'm going to trade this, maybe do some covered calls, kind of flip it the other way versus the directional timing trade. Let's look at our chat here. Got some B's, got some C's, couple A's or A minuses there as well. I think for me, if I'm grading it for overall stocks, I'm probably in a B, maybe a B minus. But if I'm grading it against solar, then I think I'm more in an A grade for First Solar because I do think it's really well positioned. Yeah, TAN is what we just showed on that chart. TAN is what I was showing you, just kind of caught up and started because TAN was lagging way behind First Solar. TAN is the ETF across and just recently kind of caught up. And so you could trade TAN, you could trade it like a pair trade where you actually trade TAN and First Solar together. I wouldn't mind that. But I think in general, something like a nuclear ETF trade where you're just trading kind of a nuclear basket while also trading a solar basket while also trading a fossil fuel basket is actually not a bad trade. Like saying, hey, I'm just going to expose myself to a lot of different energy here and expect that they all can win, and one of them will probably produce an outsized win over the next year. To me, it really isn't a bad trade. I've actually been thinking about myself now. I held nuclear for a while. I got out at a pretty good price, but I want to get back into energy. And the question is, how am I going to do that? Am I going to take a stab at something like First Solar and maybe a different nuclear? Am I going to have a couple baskets? Am I going to trade, more on a momentum and directional kind of chart structure basis? I haven't made up my mind. I'm still okay missing out, quote unquote, because we're obviously still at like a top layer reaction of this market. I mean, Micron, AMD, SanDisk are still the stocks driving the current kind of AI risk on environment. I think that will drip down to energy and basic materials in the relatively near future, and I want to be positioned for that. And so I'm just trying to figure out, how do I want to approach it? I think I will probably end up doing a little more diversification than I usually would. I'm not a big diversification guy, but I think when it comes to energy, there's enough upside across multiple different energy regimes that that I can do that. So I'll let you guys know as I formulate my game plan. But I think First Solar would definitely be on the watch list. I'm just not sure if I'm going to trade it directly. I'm still kind of sitting on my hands as it relates to First Solar. Yeah, the options are not great, but I assume you could sell some calls. Let's see. If I wanted to sell a 280 call on First Solar, holy smokes. Maybe I will buy First Solar and sell some calls on it. You get 10% of the value of the stock. Maybe I'll sell a put. You could sell a August 210 put. Let me show you.
I mean, that wouldn't be terrible since you don't mind owning the shares anyway.
Right. You could sell an August 210 put for about $11 if you're patient, maybe even $12, which means you'd be owning the stock under $200 on your net cost. So FSLR, you'd be owning the stock around 198 at that. I don't think that's a bad price.
No.
I mean, you could probably even go more extreme and say, I actually only want to own it at 150 and not get much value, but get enough that it's worth doing. Let's see. No, I thought maybe you'd still get 250 or $3. Drops off a cliff here right around 180.
You're not going to get a buyer anyway.
Okay. This 200 has.
I was just going to say, there's an anomaly right there. Though we love those round numbers.
Yeah. Get some volume there. I mean, I'm not even opposed to selling the 250 because we're only talking about 90 days, 3 months. If I can get $30 out of the 250, I could own it at 220 with a ton of premium. I could own it here, right on this support, with a whole bunch of premium to bring in. And if it got really ugly, I can manage it. I wouldn't love to do that, but I could. Maybe that's the trade I'll take. Maybe I'll sell a put here. And then if I get it, I can sell calls. The danger you have with a stock like this, you have to be interested in the stock, because what a lot of people will do, let me just help you guys out here. What a lot of people will do is they'll do what I'm doing right now, and they'll say, "Oh wow, these options actually look really juicy. Maybe I should sell a put." And hey, I mean, if it crumbles, which hopefully it doesn't, but hey, if it crumbles to $140, yeah, I'll be down 30% on the stock, and that's not great. But then I can sell calls against it. Okay, all that is true up till this point. What you have to be careful with is if solar is crashing to the point where it's becoming out of favor, you will also lose the IV. So you won't just be down on 30% on the stock. You also won't be able to sell really juicy covered calls against the stock if it kind of is not sexy enough at that point for there to be lots of IB in the option. So that's really what you have to be careful with. That's why I would actually just depending, because the good news is you can watch the IB in real time, so you don't have to guess. I might do this, and then I might actually manage the stock, or excuse me, manage the option versus taking it if I got beat up on it. And if we're break even for the next 3 weeks, for example, well, then I have a little bit more room to manage that, where I probably don't even have to decide whether I want to get out until I'm break even on the stock itself. So, real quick, let's see what. Oh wow, look at all the volume here. This is lots of zeros. Just wanted to see 60. Oh, not near. Okay. Not near the value, and not no volume anyway, but not near the value here on tan. All right. Well, I will. I'll have to consider whether I want to do some puts here on First Solar. I've been thinking about buying it. I've been wondering if I want to get into that, if I want to do an ETF. Maybe the best way is to start with some premium. If it runs away without me, I'll be bummed that I didn't buy it, but at least I'll knock out some easy premium. If it comes back to a position where I wanted to buy it anyway, now I will. Maybe that's the approach I'll take. I will, if I do that, I'll be pretty greedy. I'll set that current $27 put at like 31 bucks and really not move until it, because that way a pullback will help get me filled, and a runaway trade I'll miss, but I never had any risk on it to miss, because I don't want to be in a position where I am, chasing for Solar, a stock that could easily run up 10% next week and then fall 20% the week after. So I'll mess around there and see if I end up getting into anything. I'll let you guys know if I do. Chris said he sold a put. Chris, which one did you sell, out of curiosity? What do I mean by manage the trade? I mean, in other words, instead of just saying, hey, I'm going to sell the put and then I'll put the shares if it drops, and then I'll figure out what to do from there, I might actually just close that option and take a loss on it if I'm concerned about not just the stock being down, but the volatility crushing as well, because that's really the double whammy that you want to avoid.
I got a couple of things.
Last thing to mention is our dear friend Rost is up 7% above that market maker move. So I'm currently down about 50% on my calendar. It was a little bit better shape when it dropped down to 227 earlier. It needs to fill a pretty big gap, so I'll probably take a loss on that somewhere in the middle of the day, 1 o'clock or so. If it gets ripping down, maybe we could salvage a small loss or a break even. But it turns out I should have probably shifted that up to the bullish side like I initially thought. So we'll see if I do that.
I have one other thing. You want to talk about the roundtable next week?
Sure. Yes. First, Rick said it's pretty difficult to get help and support. Rick, that is a shocking thing for me to hear.
Well, I will say if you're going to the live support for like one-on-one help, that's not the right place to go. So if you go to customer service live, they're doing demos and stuff to teach you about things. But if you need help with like your account or something, you need to either email support or call this number that I'm giving you right now.
Well, but I guess that's my point, is that we do have customer support live, but we also have regular support on the phone, and then we have all of us who are live, 13 hours a day, answering most of the regular questions that impact us. So I don't know how much more we can really throw at folks in terms of availability than what we do. But Rick, if there are specific things that you find like on a regular basis, like I'm always getting on and asking a specific trade question, but so-and-so can't answer that, then we can try to solve that further and further as we go. But in terms of availability, I feel like we've really put our best foot forward on trying to have our team available and our editors and traders available, and hopefully, kind of getting enough on air time between our different resources that you're able to get whatever you need at the end of the day.
All right, I'm going to drop the link here for next Tuesday's roundtable that Nathan and Graham and Kane and Roger will be joining Emily from Unfiltered Finance. You want to talk about the PDT thing?
Well, I mean, I think just to say that it's probably the biggest impact for most of the people on this call that rule is going away, including a lot of the actionable strategies that we've talked about. There's a whole bunch of things that we're now able to start developing that we would have been more cautious. I mean, we have some people who day trade, obviously. Graham has a 60-minute trade that is a day trade most often, and Roger certainly has day trades. But a lot of our team has held off on more active stuff because the rule limits so many of our people. And so I think this is a massive game changer for many of you, opens up the doors, not just for like new strategies, but actually for managing trades and strategies, which to me is a big part of the equation as anything. So we're going to go through some of those details. May 26th, the four of us plus Emily hosting, just going through, okay, where's kind of the next immediate impact? Are things going to change in the market itself once everyone's able to do this? What strategies do, make more sense or have a bigger edge versus which ones don't? And what are some things that regular people can do to take advantage of the new rules? Because obviously, like anything else in the trading world, when something like this opens up, most retail traders don't take advantage of it, right? They end up turning mistakes into bigger mistakes, unfortunately. So we're going to talk about how to avoid that as well. So looking forward, it's May 26th as the beautiful banner there says. We'll finish up our regular opening playbook, have a little break, and then jump over into that.
Cool. Other than that,
All right.
all I have is a chance for people to get into the income machine for free.
Yeah. Well, if you guys want to try the income machine, I'm sure most of you in here are trading it. You can check out and see if First Solar made our list on the income machine, by the way, if you're using it. I'm not sure if it did. I haven't looked. Options volume is pretty low, so probably not. But you can keep an eye on that, for example, with those juicy premiums. But really, what I've been talking about so much lately is that the overall stock market is not giving us great income opportunities. VIX is low, ATRs is high. You really have to find it on individual stocks if you're looking to trade for income. And so for us, for me, I use the income machine for that. It's going to rank the stocks, going to find those income opportunities, and based on the market conditions, it's going to give you how aggressive do you want to be, more conservative, more aggressive, et cetera. And so to me, this is always a no-brainer. I mean, I talk about it a lot for that reason. It's a tool that I think every trader should have in every market environment, and you can try it for free. So if you're not using it, here's the presentation on exactly how it works and how to sign up for free. See y'all.
So today, you guys are going to see the first income tool of its kind. It's designed to give you different choices, different options, all done for you, and that way you can find the one that you find most appealing. And today, by the end of the class,